echo. Period, you will see in a second, or in a few minutes, because first we will wait for a few more people to come in. Miguel, yes, please gather materials that you might need: paper, pencil, or stylus if you do it digitally. I agree, Miguel. It would be harder. It is harder usually to do this on a digital canvas. The grip of the paper can really help with this. So everybody who wants to join in, I very much recommend to do it the traditional way. Yes, Fang, we do gesture drawing. Oh, there was an echo. Forgot. No, where is everybody? They don't think they need it. True, Batman. That is something I didn't consider, but we will come to that. Okay. Let me reposition myself. And I think we can start with a little introduction to gesture. What do I mean by gesture when I say it in the context of drawing or painting? I mean by gesture or gesture drawing kind of drawing that doesn't specifically try to catch anatomy, proportions, perspective, anything like that, but it's more about a mood, a feeling that you try to capture, and that you usually do with loose and quick lines. Gesture drawings are usually done very quickly, so forget anything you learned during flocking together hours where we do stuff in 20 minutes. A gesture drawing is often done within 5 minutes. It is, you try to capture the essence of your subject. In our case, of course, in paleo art, extinct animals. Stuff like clear outlines, static lines. That's all what we will not do today. In gesture drawings, you try to capture movement, or not, if there is no movement, a certain dynamic that is present in your subject. You try to do something that is very quickly done and might resemble your subject, but it doesn't need to be especially anatomically correct, or the proportions don't need to be on point. What is much more important here is that you get down the feeling for the creature in front of you, that it's no longer basically traced over static cutout of something you see. Here it's really important that you actively see, not just passively take stuff in, but really observe how things are moving, how they are formed, but not in a way that okay, I have to get every little detail right. It's more about actions, the lines of actions especially. Lines of actions is something you it's one of the best things you can start a gesture drawing with, like a T-Rex in frontal view. These could be the lines of actions in the animal. You have starting with the torso here, and this is basically the energy of the leg that's coming down, and the foot that steps on the ground. Here you see the energy coming through. Here's a tail behind it, the other leg may be raised. And as you can see, I'm not looking at references. I might have a quite clear image of T-Rex in my head, and if I had a reference of a T-Rex running, which I can't have because they are all dead, I would do the same thing. And so we have very quick idea of the gesture drawing. You still notice here the energy of the action line within it, how it flow through it. You might even go a little bit further with it and take this foot more to the midline, because what is also very important about gesture is to get the balance right, to get a feeling for that this subject here could move like that. It's while the anatomy might not be that important, it can be very important to capture a realistic sense of balance, to get your to give your animals life. Oh, like a big torso here, and that's basically already done. You don't need more for a gesture drawing. Why are we doing this? Is maybe an interesting thing to ask. Well, you could say you at the end of the day, no, you don't need to do gesture drawing. However, if you want to create drawings and compositions that are engaging, that you like to look at, that draw you in, literally, then gesture drawings is a fantastic way of training how to bring your animals alive. I could use this now as basically an underlying sketch that I, with adjustments because of references of photos and skeletal drawings, bring to a finished piece, but because I have this underlying sketch of a gesture drawing that tries to capture energy and movement, the final piece will be much more lively, much more engaging than if I just started with a stiff skeleton that lays underneath. You can do that if you are trained enough, however, because then you already have the gesture basically in mind when you put flesh on the bones. However, that takes a lot of practice. I will not recommend doing that. That's why. See, this is just a plain simple skeletal drawing in sideways, and it's boring. It doesn't tell you anything. This T-Rex, on the other hand, is he's coming at you. He's moving. There's energy in the whole thing. So we will try this now as well. And the best way of doing that is first trying to capture the energy by copying what you see in photographs. Because we have no dinosaurs and other extinct animals here to look at, we will take some modern day animals as reference to go into this. Oh, why is GIMP freezing up? Please don't do this. Shush. Thank you very much. I will copy this also into chat for those who want to look at it separately, but on the stream. That should help a lot. If it plays, there it is. Okay, we see here the drawing of a basilisk running over water. There's a lot of movement in the whole thing, and for those who would like to follow, I invite you to pick up your pencil and just try to draw along. I will minimize the reference a little bit here that I have a bit more room, and we start out as beforehand with line of action. Don't take a long time observing, trying to get it 100% right. That is not important. It is not about the details, the correct proportions and everything. This is about the movement of the animal and its energy you try to capture. Loose lines. First, it's good to not start with the hardest lines, with very dark tones, but just let the pencil basically dance over the paper. Try to erase as little as possible. And you don't have to draw clear outlines, it's just about the movement. Now a little bit of environment going with it can also be charming. But yeah, this is basically already it. To capture, to do a gesture drawing. You see here basically the action line going through the wool animal. And that's the gestures, drawings, vertebrate column, basically, what we have here. And everything builds around it. Okay, I'm giving you a little bit more time. And if you're ready, we will jump to the next example. Which is a little bit more complicated because here we are looking at a reptile with a long tail, so of course a lot of movement would go through the body into the tail. That is relatively simple. Again, don't try to put too many details into it. That's not important. Next thing we will look at is this antelope. I will again post this image also in the chat. There we go. I think this, I know that's not a Thompson antelope. I'm not sure what it is, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is that this animal is in movement, and that energy we try to capture. Maybe interesting is how you make your lines. The lines should be loose, as I said before. You should try to avoid very hard angles, and the movement of your pencil shouldn't come out of your wrist. It's more like it comes out of your elbow, your shoulder, sometimes your whole body, as one of my old professors liked to say. And it's totally fine to exaggerate sometimes your line work to capture more of the emotion and expression of the movement or the feeling you want to create. Yeah, so if you have problem with that, it's sometimes good to grip your pencil differently, to use a different holding technique, you might say, so you don't fall into the trap of doing what you always do, with just sitting down here and doing your little lines. Dip, 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 dip. Okay, let's go over to this antelope now. Again, starting with action lines. You see here the energy is going into the ground here in the moment through the body and the back here. Also, as you might have noticed now, I fixed my Streamlabs thingy going on, and that was just a new follow. Hello there. Okay, let's see. First loose set of lines is in. Now I'm going in with a bit more opacity, or if I would do this traditionally, I would go in with a little more pressure, and I'm putting in a little bit more clearer lines in areas where I'm sure of my line work. You can also alter the pose a little if it suits the purpose of your drawing. It doesn't need to be a one-to-one copy. Like here, I changed the hind limbs a little because I like this pose more. Similar I do with this forelimb here, where I don't really like this very steep ankle there. Here's the base of the hoof. Also get a little bit of color in if you like. That helps, or maybe a little bit of shading if you work on colored paper. I have here this light gray, so I can quickly put in some light with some white, as well as some gray for shadows. And that's basically already it for this little antelope or gazelle. Yeah, I like that unit. We gotta go fast. make sure to get enough space on your piece of paper. Don't squeeze stuff into the corners. These things need room to breathe. If possible, you see here I'm already getting awfully close to the edge of my digital canvas here. But that's okay. Getting a little bit more details in. No, that's actually better. Okay. Waiting a few more moments for people to finish. You can, by the way, also do this not just with small little lines, but using big brushes is also possible for gesture drawings. You know, especially if you're interested in capturing the silhouette of something, it can be good to just use a big brush going in there, ham on the canvas. Yeah. So the tool is not really important here. For our last little exercise, I would like to do something with you guys that is less dynamic, because gesture doesn't necessarily mean that you do something dynamic. Gesture just means that you use loose lines for it. In this case, I picked this sleepy hippo. Just laying around here. Ignore the ones in the background. Important is this one here in the foreground. And although it is sleeping, there are dynamics going on in this image that can be interesting to capture. Again, I'm posting the image in Discord as well for people to see. Quick look on Twitch if somebody had a question in the meantime. No gain, how do you draw it so quickly and accurately? I don't really try to make it too accurate. In this case, at least, I just try to capture the feeling of the overall figure. The proportions, perspective, anatomy, that's not really that important. But what really helps is doing these often. Because the nice thing is, because it is so quickly done, if you do something wrong, you see it immediately and you fail quickly. And failing quickly is very important when it comes to learning art, because the quicker you make mistakes, the quicker you can notice them and do it better again. Better next time, as we like to say here. And that's why this can also only be the beginning of you trying to learn gesture drawings, because it is something that you will never completely learn out. There's always something new you can learn, even with gesture. And this nice hippo here is a good way of trying something a little different. So, whoops, from brush, let's just start with line of action. Your line of action is just this big blobby body here, and then the head is flattening out a little with its big snoot. Lots of wobbly mass. What also really helps is trying to break things down into simple shapes. Like you see here, I'm doing a lot of ovals and spirals and nothing really figured out yet, because I just make suggestions to the paper in what direction it could go before I double check basically with the subject here and then go in and refine later. You can also, you see I do this, these are not really shadings what I do, these curved lines, they are more there so to suggest to the eye the volume of a figure. And they really help also later when we come to shading, because they help with getting down the shading where it has to go. At least that's for me. So every artist does it a little bit different. Okay, going to a more opaque line. Well, that ass is a little long, but that is not really important. This is more about capturing the mass. Adding a few lines here for the ground can also help to ground, literally, in this case, your drawing. Little ears. And again, I'm adding a little bit of light to the whole thing, because we also have some rim lighting here on the overall figure, so that's a good opportunity to add some. So like that. Okay. Again, giving you guys a little bit more time to finish yours. Ooh, Perry Miguel. Yeah, that's a good thing. Cats are a beautiful thing to use for gesture drawings because they are so flexible. So all cat poses can have a lot of energy. If they are loafing up or jumping around, cats are fantastic subject for that. Same with horses. Horses are great, and of course humans are also a good way to train gesture. But of course humans are humans and rarely play a role in paleo art, so that's why I don't bring them up here. I see a lot of hippo loaves in chat. Nice, nice. DeLong, try to loosen up a little bit in your lines. Experiment a little bit more with lines going back and forth. It's totally okay to just scribble a little bit around before you figure out, okay, that's the line I want to go with. Ooh. Nice one, unit. Ah, nice one, Jack. Yes. In Jack's case, you also can see how you can... wait, I'm grabbing that piece quickly. You can see here how your line weight can also help a lot with your overall gesture drawings. Here you see the big fat lines in the shadows and so on, and they give these more weight. They ground the whole lower half of the animal. Okay, for our last little exercise here, I would like you to pick an extinct animal of your liking and try to apply what we have done here to that animal. I very much recommend sauropods, especially diplodocoids, because of their long, potentially very expressive tails. Not so much stuff like ceratopsians, because ceratopsians are with their big horny ornaments, razor stiff in the head area at least, but even they can be very dynamic. There are some great pieces by Gregory S. Paul, for example, where he shows large ceratopsians being very, very dynamic, and that's a good thing to study actually when you are looking for masters to learn from in that sense. Otherwise, yeah, try yourself on something and try to bring some energy and movement into these old bones. I'm doing that here with a quick little sketch of Diplodocus, I think. Gesture drawing is, by the way, also a great tool to figure out little stories you want to tell in your images. We will come back to this later in a later session when we talk about composition, but keep that in mind. That gestures can really help you with that. So here we go. First little diplodocoid. I think I will do a second one because I'm not that happy with this first one. Let's do one in frontal view. The nice thing with diplodocoids is that they have a rather narrow gait, so they are very elegant, not only in side view but also in front view. That's much more like it. Adding a few spines here and there. A bit more rim lighting. A bit of bold shadows here on the ground as well, and we are basically done. Okay, I hope this helped a little with you, for you guys, in terms of gesture drawings, clearing up what it is, why you do it, and why you certainly should do a lot more of it in case you already knew of it, because this can really help you create interesting images even before you figure out all of the anatomy and shading and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, even if an image can be scientifically absolutely accurate and everything, it can still be a very boring piece. And that's something nobody wants, and that's why practice more gesture. Okay. This should be everything for this stream. There's a short one, I think, this time. but I hope it was bearable nonetheless. Yeah, see you all next time.